The 2024 Democratic National Convention kicks off today right here in the Windy City.
Our own Anita Blanton is live on the convention floor for us this morning with a preview of what we can expect to see on day one.
Well, it is such a big week for the Democrats here. The stakes are so high. The theme of the convention this year is for the people, for our future. And of course, one of the biggest issues heading into the November election for many people across this country is the economy. So what you're hearing from both sides of the aisle, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, is that they have got to hit home on the economy. I listened to Chris Christie, Nikki Haley, and also Senator Lindsey Graham over the weekend speaking from the Republican side of things, and they all said President Trump has to speak about the economy. He has to stay on message because that's still an area where he is leading Vice President Kamala Harris in the polls. So when you switch back over to the Democratic convention, that is an area that they're going to have to do a lot of work on. We spoke with a political expert and professor at North Central College, Stephen Caliendo, over the weekend. He and several experts believe that while it might be more entertaining to hear pump-up speeches for the future or even attacks on the opposite political party, Democrats will largely focus on why Vice President Kamala Harris should be America's pick for the nation's top spot from an economic standpoint.
While we don't technically have an incumbent president running for re-election, we do have an incumbent administration. And so I think what they're going to try to show is that while inflation has come down and the rate of inflation is lower, people are still feeling the high prices from when inflation was high earlier in the Biden administration. And so I think this focus on price gouging and other sort of corporate elements of the reason the prices are still high will be the focus this week.
So you heard him talking about some of the focus for this week. Obviously, Kamala Harris rolled out some of her economic policy right before the weekend began. Already, that has been kind of spliced up by many pundits who have talked about, in fact, the Washington Post even calling it much of a gimmick. So there's work to be done in that area there. It includes that first ever ban on grocery price gouging, expanded down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, which many Democrats say is still something that should be very relevant to a lot of people. $6,000 per child for families in the first year of a child's life. That's another area that they think can hit home for a lot of families at home. But with former President Donald Trump still leading on the economic issues for voters, the Democratic Party expected to use the DNC this week to sell their plan to the American people. Again, such a big week, such a big time, and messaging is what you hear from both sides of the aisle, whether it's former President Donald Trump, who will be crisscrossing the nation, going to some of the major states that could play a big role as we go into November, or Vice President Kamala Harris and everyone who hits the stage this week here at the DNC in Chicago.
Great wrap up. Thanks so much, Anita. We'll see you again soon. And security downtown is tight with street closures, fencing, and a big police presence.
Roseanne is live this morning with what you can expect as soon as you step out the doors this morning.
Yeah, you will notice some changes along Michigan Avenue. There are more police officers. We've seen groups of Secret Service officers. The road closures you mentioned and that fencing, Natalie, fencing goes all the way around the Water Tower Park here right out in front of the Park Hyatt. Now, we noticed other hotels like the Omni and the Peninsula have some street closures nearby. We know a lot of dignitaries will be staying in these hotels. You may not be expecting those small stretches of side streets to be closed, though, if you missed the announcement over the weekend. The DNC announced the closures, saying that the city and Secret Service would be taking steps to ensure safety. So the closures include, through Friday, Wabash from Chestnut to Delaware, Huron from Michigan to Rush, and Chicago from Michigan to Rush. Some people are really excited about the convention coming to town and a chance to show off the city. Others, not so much.
Please let them go home as soon as possible.
And why is that?
The fencing, the potential damage, it's awful. Yeah.
Not fun to live through.
No, it's a bad image for the city.
It's just convenient to work, you know, with the traffic and everything. And I don't get up till like 5 o'clock. It's going to be hectic.
Yeah, so it might just be a different scene here along Michigan Avenue this afternoon and throughout the morning. Again, a lot of those side streets closed that we know a lot of people weren't expecting because we see them trying to make the turn and stopping abruptly. So heads up there. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Roseanne, for keeping us informed, at least this Monday morning. And you can find everything you need to know about the DNC in one place. We have information on the street closures, the CTA reroutes, protests, and the convention itself, all online at fox32chicago.com/DNC.